when I talk about the clitoris, I know that what I say is kind of, let's say it's kind of going against the supposed conventional wisdom about what female pleasure is supposed to be. But really all that I'm saying is the clitoris is kind of old hat, you know? If we look 100 years ago, you know, a lot of people didn't even acknowledge women could have sexual pleasure or have orgasms. And that all started to change in the 20th century as started to be recognized. I mean, at the same time as women started to get rights, the recognition of their pleasure started to become more common, basically, you know, and people started to talk about it and write books and do research into things like the G-spot and the clitoris. And I mean, the clitoris is cool, you know, and I think one of the really cool things about it is that when I put my hand down there, it pretty much is exactly where my hand goes. So like I remember as a teenager, like I was going through a lot of stress and I'd just fall asleep with my hand there by my clitoris and I'd get this like amazing relaxing feeling all over my body. Now, when I started to have my first boyfriend, this changed a little bit because he would sort of grab at my clitoris in quite a different way from what I was used to. And I would just find myself actually flinching from it. And with partners since that time, I've also found just I didn't feel like, you know, the clitoris is fun for me, and definitely at a time, you know, for me with myself, and definitely at a time when women are, you know, were kind of going through this sexual awakening. They didn't know anything. They were so disconnected from their vaginas. Going down and touching the clitoris and being like, oh my God, I feel something there and it's really nice, was really important. But now we've been through like almost 100 years, or certainly 80 years of this, you know, of becoming aware about female pleasure. And I just feel like we haven't really moved on since that time. So when we look at the clitoris in Tantra, it's really interesting because in tantric massage and in Tantra in general, we don't really talk about touching the clitoris too much. And the same in Taoist sexology, there's not an awful lot. I mean, one thing I will say is that the clitoris is directly connected to the pineal gland, which of course has a correlation with the third eye. And I mean, there is this practice called omming where you can put your finger just to the left of the clitoris where there's this big bundle of nerves and just sort of, you know, stimulate it really, really gently. And this is nice. It can be good. But I think the problem is that kind of sex has got reduced down to, you know, female pleasure, grab her clitoris if you want to give her an orgasm. Now, a clitoral orgasm is kind of the female equivalent of a male ejaculation. So the clitoral orgasm, the woman has one and then she's satisfied, or she's had enough, or whatever. Okay. Now, what we're starting to understand more and more about female pleasure, and actually what was understood thousands of years ago by the Tantrists and the Taoists, and probably was, you know, common knowledge in Europe until the church came along and said, all that down there is naughty, stop thinking about it. There's a lot of erogenous tissues down there. In fact, everything down there is capable of like massive amounts of pleasure. Now, I also have to say, I think the clitoris is a little bit of a lazy option because it's so easy to kind of go down and just sort of grab at the clitoris and just hope it's going to do something, you know, but it's not very skillful, and it's also not putting in too much of an effort. Now, I know that if you're nervous, you're scared of the vagina, which many men are, you're going to really struggle to go slow, you know, and it's very important to kind of be aware about the cultural beliefs that we've been given that causing us to think, for example, that sexual organs are dirty, which might be causing us to skip out on foreplay, for example, you know. So it's really important to be sexually aware and emotionally aware, emotionally intelligent, in order to have good sex. And please do check out my blogs talking about this. There's loads of information, and I'm going to make a video about this too soon, maybe even this week. So basically, there is so much more down there than the clitoris. And in fact, I want to keep my clitoris for myself. I don't really want a partner to stimulate it. Funny as this sounds, I think that touching it myself is cool, but when I have a partner, I want him to really touch everything. We also say in Tantra, we say the clitoris is greedy. It pulls the energy away from the rest of the vagina, and often women may not be feeling sensitivity in the rest of the vagina because they've just had the clitoris touched, and that's all they're used to. And of course, we have to remember familiarity equals liking, and if someone's not feeling something in other parts, you know, if they want to get to the point for that to start feeling, they need those other parts to be touched, you know. So for example, massaging gently, very, very gently around the labia, the little space between the labia, going up and down like this. It's probably one of my faves. Another one is just the thumb inside the inner labia, just a little stroke like that. Of course, then it can come down to our favorite penetration move. If you don't know this, do check out my blogs, read about it, practice it. This is the reason 80% of women are not having orgasms from penetration, okay? And then inside, I mean, if you imagine the vagina, when you go, if a penis is going like this or a finger is going like this, you're missing out like 90% of the pleasure that a woman has, you know? Even just putting just the head in and pulling it back so that ridge rubs against the G-spot feels absolutely amazing. Get creative, guys, man. We can't just be stuck on grabbing the clitoris clumsily. This is the 21st century. We all deserve so much more, you know? And in terms of the fingers, really pushing the fingers in, massaging around, feeling, for example, at the top, there's two pleasure spots. There's the G-spot and the A-spot. At the bottom, the K-spot, there's the cervix, you know, and being aware, this is not just about, oh, it feels nice. This is such a multifaceted experience of sensation, of emotion. And if we're not open to experience emotion, it is going to just be like blocking down our ability to experience pleasure as well. So I hope you found this useful. I really hope you're going to go off and explore, that you're going to go off and find those other pleasure spots, and you're going to just really remember, go slow, go very, very gentle. It's almost a competition about how gentle and how slow you can get, because when you're really slow and really gentle, you can really connect with that orgasmic energy and bring it up.